We waited as long as we could. We're going to go ahead and get started. Who's from Papillion La Vista in here? All right, your rep didn't show up. You know, just show. We're calling her out. So, all right. Well, I've only met. Good morning, everybody. But I wanted to go ahead and. This is going to be kind of a question and answer. So we've got Millard, OPS, and Elkhorn. I'll have them introduce themselves. They've got kind of a slideshow that they're going to be going through, and then it'll be a kind of a question and answer, whatever they can do to help you guys, like we have talked about. Also, if you do have a question, just pause because we are recording it, and for them to capture the question, I need to bring you the mic so you guys can say the question into the mic, and then they can answer it. So we'll go ahead and get started. We'll have Rebecca. Rebecca's been fabulous to work with to help get everything set up.
Good.
And
am I going here?
And then, yep, if you can see the green button on.
I think I have a green button,
Then
so
you're
I
good.
think I'm good. Good morning. My name is Rebecca Kleeman. I'm the communications director for Millard Public Schools, and we have been going since 5:30 this morning because this is the official, unofficial start to the school year, which always kicks off with the KETV Salvation Army 7 Can Help backpack drive. And these two ladies can help me say it. We've got it all memorized. So we have to drag our superintendents out at 5:30, 6:30 in the morning for live shots. And that is just, it always rains, it always thunders. KETV sets up the giant mast in front of Methodist Women's Hospital, and then they roll it down really quick and run under the awning. And I mean, we've been doing this for a decade now. So we are all kind of having that collective gasp of, yeah, that's the end of summer, here we go. And so we found this as a perfect opportunity to come meet you and say hello. We know that when you are selling a house, one of the biggest first questions you run into is, which schools does this house go to? It's just natural. It's all over the country. We also know that we occasionally change boundaries, and there are actually 11 districts. Now, our districts themselves don't change boundaries, but within the school district, we just love to mix it up and change school boundaries on you. So there's always some change, and there's always questions. And people don't realize that there are names and faces behind these districts. I've always thought they would catch on to us because it's a big thing in the media to call a school day for a snow day. And you see them and they say, now Omaha Public just called it. Wait, Millard just called it. It's like a horse race. Isn't it interesting how we all fall within 1 minute of each other? Don't you think there's a chance we're all connected on the back end? She might be saying, okay, Omaha just hit the button. I might be sitting there with my coffee going, let me put the coffee down. Hold up, here I go. I just called Millard. And then Kara's rushing in with, oh, wait, Elkhorn's closing too. We are very, very connected. We have names, we have faces, and we would love for you to reach out if you ever have questions. So that's why we wanted to be here today, just so you could meet us and get to know us. So again, I'm Rebecca, I'm Millard. I'll run through the introductions, go for it.
Good morning. Thanks for being here. I'm Kayla Morrissey. I'm the Director of Communications for Omaha Public Schools. I've spent my entire professional career in school public relations, so I'm excited. This is the first opportunity we've had to meet with realtors, so I think this is a great connection that we can have moving forward.
Good morning. I'm Kara Purchell. I am the Director of Communications for Elkhorn Public Schools. I would just echo everything that Rebecca and Kayla said. This is a great opportunity for us as a school district to really form these connections and help families that are new to our schools really have a great first impression with a knowledgeable realtor who connects them with the schools and the people they're going to need. So thank you so much for welcoming us.
This is an absolutely crazy time of year for us, and we have one other colleague who may be joining us, but we're not sure what her schedule looks like this morning. Annette Iman is with Papillion. If she's not here, we promise to give her little piece of the presentation and do a positive job. We're not going to sink her, so if any of you see her later, we held up Papillion really well. They actually, the other craziness is we all like to just start earlier and earlier into the summer. Any of you that are parents may have noticed this. When I was growing up, it was like maybe after Labor Day. Now it's the 10th of August. Papillion goes back the day before us. So I'm sure she's running crazy. So we'll represent for her as well. I was going to kick off with a few. These are our kids. These are not stock pictures. These are actually our Millard kids. And let's see if we can, it helps if you turn the clicker on. Here we go. I wanted to take a quick look at Nebraska. We have 327,000 students in Nebraska. Vast majority of them are going to be in the metro area. I think there's just under, last I checked, 2 million people in all of Nebraska. And most of it is Omaha, Lincoln. And then once you start going out west, there's not as many. Though there are school districts and we are connected with everyone all the way to Scotts Bluff. But your vast amount of children are going to be here. And 89% of those children attend public schools. So we have most of the kids that are in Nebraska. We have 23,000, nearly 24,000 teachers. So just as much as you might be selling a house to a family that has kids, there's also a really good chance you've got a teacher, a para, somebody that's working for one of the schools. 8% of our population are English learners, and that is growing. 41% of children who attend our schools are on free or reduced lunch, which is how we follow poverty statistics and how we can roll in and help families. We need to know those things so we can help. But the biggest and most interesting piece of this to me is for all the headlines you've heard through COVID, and it's been a tough 3 years for public schools, Nebraska has an amazing public school system. Yes, 41% of the students we teach are in families that are facing challenges getting food on the table. But out of that, our standardized test scores are significantly above the nation in math and science, and we're still above in reading and writing, and we're getting better. So we're very proud of the product that we put out. And here's where we are. You know this, but I thought it'd be a good map to share. It's just a good visual of where all of us are in the metro. And we are all very much connected. We have a group called NEBSPRA, Nebraska School Public Relations Association. This goes from here all the way out to Scotts Bluff. We meet regularly, we talk, we all get together, and we would love to help you whenever you have questions. You could always reach out to one of us. We could connect you with another if you're not sure. If you have somebody in Gearing's like, I really need some help, we've got colleagues out there. We'd love to hook you up. And this is a little bit about what we do. We are websites, we're media relations, we have the social media, we are all our special events, we are of course crisis communication. And this is a bit of who we're trying to reach, which I think is why this might be a little new for us, because we do think in concentric circles. The first group we're always trying to reach is our staff. They're the ones that need to know the most. So we're quickly trying to go to staff. Our next group is obviously our families, then community, then the media. So we don't always think of you first, but you may need to reach us. You're part of the community. So we appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And we really are all about community. When I say I don't use stock pictures, I really don't. These are all pictures out of Millard. The snow picture, which is a super fun one, that's a really professional mom that just happens to be walking around with a camera and caught snow day pictures. And usually we run on social media on snow days. We'll say, hey, send us the pictures. Show us what you're doing. And the moms and dads start flooding us with pictures because, hey, they're all working from home too that day because, you know, we kind of killed their childcare for them. So they send us all the pictures and we push them out there. We have the fairs at all the schools. That was a back to school fair. Our playgrounds are open after hours. Anybody can walk on our playgrounds and our tracks, and we expect the community to use what we provide, and we try to keep it well maintained for them. And we also start conversations. I loved this picture. This popped up at Halloween in my community, and I drove past him, and I was like, oh, how cute. I think they put the eyes on the school. The house is right across the street from Black Elk Elementary, right off of Harrison Street. And I'm like, the tree's looking at the school. And then I'm like, wait a second, the tree's looking at the school. Backed up, took a picture, put it on social media. Turns out this house had changed owners like 3 times, but they kept passing the tradition of the eyes. So I thought that was cool. And those are little things that, you know, kind of affects. Like if you buy this house, you do understand you got to put eyes on the tree every single year, right? Whether you have kids or not, we expect eyes on the trees. Like the school's looking for it.
I am just going to give a brief overview of the Elkhorn Public Schools District. So, thank you, ma'am. So for those who don't know, Elkhorn is a district of a student enrollment just over 10,000, well, just under 11,000, I guess. We do experience an average enrollment growth of anywhere from 2 to 5% every year. So quickly growing. A lot of the houses, new construction houses that you're seeing, that's out west, that's Elkhorn. We do have 21 schools. That's 4 preschools, 12 elementaries, 5 middles, and then 3 high schools. That feeds our students are spread across those buildings. And then we have 12,060 staff members. 900 of those are certified educators. So the remainder would be those support staff members. Elkhorn does serve students of all ages, starting from birth with our early intervention services all the way through age 21, which would serve our young adult program population. That would be students who need assistance past their graduation years. Everything in between there, we do have 4 preschools. I think I mentioned that, but high ability learners, special education. As Rebecca mentioned, Elkhorn's English language learner population is also significantly expanding. So that's a program that's really seen some growth in our district recently as well. We also offer a career awareness program, which I believe we have interns that intern here at Berkshire as well. So thank you for hosting our students as they get that opportunity to learn. And then just advanced placement courses as well. Several courses in that department, over 12 subject areas. So average graduation rate hovers anywhere from 95 to 98%, and then over 85% of our students are pursuing secondary education as well. District boundaries, which is basically what you're all here for, I assume. Elkhorn is one of very few metro districts that's closed to option enrollment, which basically means that you have to live at an address within our boundaries, and you have to attend the school that you're assigned to based on that address. We don't allow Millard students into Elkhorn. We don't, nobody else gets to come. You have to, and
It's because of the crush of the...
it is. It's because of that enrollment growth that I mentioned. So especially the reason that we maintain that you're assigned to a specific school as well is for that same reason. It helps us control that population growth. It helps us use our enrollment predictions to ensure that we're not over capacities at specific buildings. So there is a boundary map on our website. It can be used, you can search by address, you can search by neighborhood, you can pull up a school and say, I really want to go to Fire Ridge Elementary, what neighborhoods are assigned to that? So it's very user-friendly, very intuitive, and it really gets you down into the weeds of where you're supposed to go, and there's no gray areas. It tells you specifically where you're at. So that website there is down in the bottom as well, elkhornweb.org, and then that's just our boundary map as well. This email address, yeah, she's got a question in the back. Are we?
Yeah, we can take them. Who raised? Oh, you do have a question?
This email address listed up here is also just our generic, info at elkhornpublicschools.org or epsne.org. That does come directly to me, so if you have questions, I am always really happy to talk to prospective families, to answer questions for realtors. Like I said, we really want families to have a really great first experience, and if we get to be that first face, we're always happy to help. So, yes, ma'am.
Thank you all for being here. Oh, hello. When there is a new building, new school going up,
Yeah.
how far in advance, or is there a typical time frame when you announce new boundaries?
Yep. So generally, that timeline looks like a bond is released for vote. When that bond is released, it will tell you exactly what the projects are that we're looking at doing. If there's an elementary school, the very next step after that bond approval is the release of boundaries. So it's a very quick turnaround time. We like families to know as soon as possible that, hey, this past bond means that you're looking at a boundary change. So we give plenty of opportunity there, but it's generally, like I said, once we know construction can begin, we release boundaries immediately following that. Yep, so depending on the type of building, like an elementary school is taking about 18 months for us to get constructed. So it's generally, when we break ground, we've got 18 months of planning time. So, yeah.
And then, Rebecca, will I be able to get a copy of these slides?
Sure.
Okay,
Yes.
2.
Yes.
So I'll put these out on the A and B agent tools as well with all their contact information.
What happens if somebody moves?
Oh, hold on.
What happens if someone moves was the question. So
Inside the district?
You can repeat the question.
what happens if someone moves within the district? So we're talking about an intra-district transfer. Probably a little different for all of us.
For Elkhorn, that is, if you move within the district, you're changing schools. Our policy on you attend the school you're assigned to based on that address withholds across the district. So if you move from the north side of Dodge to the south side of Dodge, unless you're in 5th grade, 8th grade, or a senior, in which case we would allow you to maintain your enrollment at your previously assigned school, you would be reassigned to the new school.
Would you be willing to put on your old hat? Do you want to speak for him or you want me to? Either way. I'll go.
Change.
Okay. One more.
Okay,
Sure.
hold on, we got it.
You can just repeat it.
Yeah, I can repeat it.
Definitely not an answer. No.
If you're in Elkhorn Public Schools, you're in 5th grade, and you move completely out of.
You could be transferred to another Elkhorn school because you've already done your two years, but you're not guaranteed placement at the school that you are at. You're guaranteed placement in Elkhorn Public Schools district. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Are there plans for further expansion in Elkhorn?
There are. So where our enrollment projections? Oh, sorry. Are there plans for?
Expansion.
Oh, expansion. I'm sorry. Are there plans for expansion in Elkhorn? Yes. Like I just mentioned, Woodbrook Elementary, 180th and Ida, explosive growth. They need reprieve from that student enrollment. So there's absolutely plans going forward. I would just tell you to be aware of that, pay attention come fall, because once we get student enrollment projections, there'll start to be more information on timelines of what we're going to need for space.
I think we had another one.
Okay.
Yes.
So, if your grandfather is living in a different class, can they still move to a different district? You talked about 5th grade.
Yes. Yep. They can. So as long as they've done 2 full years, so that could be kindergarten and 1st grade, and they could stay through senior year. That could be 6th and 7th grade, and they could stay for as long as they want. It just has to be 2 full consecutive years of enrollment and residence in the district.
The whole family?
It is. So if you have a 5th grader and a kindergartner who's only done 1 year, your kindergartner cannot stay. So it's very student specific. It's not that families don't get to stay, students get to stay. Sorry, I didn't repeat the question.
That's
I'm
okay.
not
I
doing
think
a very
we
good
got it.
job.
No, you're doing it. You guys are doing
Sorry.
great.
Did you have a question?
That was my question.
Okay.
The incoming sibling, if they could
Yep.
stay or if they have to go.
Student specific, not families.
I'm going to step in for Papillion La Vista. As we mentioned, they're the ones that like to start first, which I suspect is why they're not here. They're up against it this morning. But these are some of the points that they really like to drive home. They have opportunities for all students, academic achievement. They are a high achieving district, amazing staff, already back at work. I'm sure they're really happy about that. They have 21 schools with a 95% graduation rate. Papillion La Vista has a strong military component. You wouldn't necessarily think of it. You think Offutt would mostly go to Bellevue, and they do, but they also have many in Papillion La Vista. I know you also in Omaha Public have a strong, particularly in that area, you have strong military. And interestingly enough, once Offutt hits the point where they are ready to retire, many of the servicemen and women decide to retire into Millard. They come as their last station, and they start buying those permanent homes. So Offutt came to us and said, you got more of us than you think. And so we've started going out there once a month for that as well, to welcome people into the community. Skip that. That was a video. It's actually, well, we're going to keep going. So they have their boundary map as well. And if any of you need to reach them, we can help with contact information on them as well. And then I'm going to jump to us. We are 35 schools. I have been working for Millard for Oh boy, this will be 12 years now. And I also moved into the district when I took the job, and I have a family, so we also attend. So I've got us in all directions. So when I send out the message and then I don't like how it comes in as a mom, I get to go yell at myself. It's really fun. It helps you perfect when you're getting the messages as well. We are right under 24,000 students and 3,000 staff. And we are at this point fairly open. I will tell you, boundaries, with the exception of COVID, has been the most contentious, difficult thing that I've come up against in my job while I've been there. It's personal, it's your child, we understand. We also can't put endless portables on a school, and at some point, if we do that, we lose the experience of the school. So it is very, very difficult. When I came into Millard a decade ago, the west side of the district was just exploding, very similar to what you're seeing along Ida Street. And we absolutely had Millard West closed off. And we ran into the same things of, if you've grandfathered in, we can get that one child in because we don't want them to lose all their friends. But at the same time, your other child starting kindergarten, I'm sorry, they've got to go with your new house. So it was really, really difficult. Since then, we started early college at Millard South. That has been, we didn't know how it would go. It's been an incredible draw. Parents are like, associate's degree when they graduate and they only got 2 years and we only got to pay 2 years of college? We'll take that. And now a third of the graduates of Millard South are early college graduates. A third are getting out with their associate's degree. And because of that, we've watched Millard South. I mean, it's just like you're turning on and off faucets. I've been amazed. So now we're like, okay, how many kids can we put in South? I mean, and I see it at graduation. I'm like, whoa, that's a lot of red. So it changes, and it's difficult for us, and we are really aware of the human element that goes with it, and we do the best we can to accommodate. There also comes a point where we can't, where we have to put down some rules. In Millard, we really pride ourselves on being a district of choice. I'll burn through this, but we offer Montessori, core knowledge, K through 12 baccalaureate, AP capstone, that's new at West. Early college and bridge to early college, that's Millard South. Air Force Junior OTC, that's South. We have 5 career academies. Because of that, we have intra-district transfers like you wouldn't believe. We have kids driving all over the place, sometimes in the middle of the day many times to get to those academies. So we're quite used to the transfer game, and we are pretty much open at this point, as we said. But that's only if we have room. I will tell you, I've seen Millard North with their IB program, International Baccalaureate, is very popular, and we do often run into challenges there. Black Elk Elementary was open for a long time. All of a sudden, that neighborhood has turned around and exploded again. There's a cycle with neighborhoods. And out of the blue, we're like, whoa, Black Elk is turning over about 10 years before we thought they were. That one's about to close down. If you need to find out, first off, just for families, our registration, this is the very front page of our website. Our registration's right on there, and you can reach us, because once you move in, that's the next thing they want to know. They want a job, our careers are right on the front page. And then if they need to know where to go, how can I find out which schools are assigned to my home? We've got a button for that too. It's also under schools. The school's website has every school, picture of it, full address. We've got your phone number. Could almost take that fax number off. That makes us look a little dated. And we have up the top, click here to see school by address. This is what you get when you put into that. I put in our district office, and it quickly shows you the red dot, and it says you go to Bryan, Anderson, Millard. Just what Kara said there, it's no question. It's very, very quick. Anybody can put any address in there. So if you need to just check when you're selling a home, it would be a great idea just to check really quick. Oh yeah, that was correct. That would be helpful for us. And then if you can't find what you want, that's my website, comes straight to us. We have 3 people in the communications department, and we do the best we can to answer that Monday through Friday. So we would probably not going to get back to you on the weekend, but there's been times we check it and we're like, yeah, sure, we'll answer back. And then whoever we answer comes back with this, and we're like, oh, it was a Saturday. Why did I answer? But we try, and we would love to help you at any point.
Okay, I'm going to take a couple minutes to talk about Omaha Public Schools. So Omaha Public Schools, we're proud to serve just over 52,000 students. We are the largest and most diverse district in the state, and our families speak about 108 languages. So we're very, very, very diverse, lots of different backgrounds within our district. We have nearly 9,000 full and part-time staff, and we have 96 schools and programs across the metro. So you think about all the different corners of the metro, we've got 96 schools spread out across in every area of the city. And then I always like to add this, but we completed a strategic plan of action in January 2020 before the world turned upside down. But that really is our driving force in all the decisions that we make for our students and families, and that really just drives our daily work. So talking about how we support students and families, we've got several programs that are available in most of our schools or at select schools. So we've got our Gifted and Talented program, which also has advanced academics when you get to the high school level. We've got dual language in 10 of our schools. So in those 10 schools, students are truly bilingual. They take Spanish half the day and they take English half the day. We've, of course, got special education and early childhood. We have a large English learner population, and so we have a large English learner program. We also have a transition program, which is for those students who have graduated high school who are transitioning into life skills, so those 18 to 21-year-olds that still need support. And then we have alternative programs as well. All of our students in Omaha Public Schools receive a no-cost breakfast and lunch, and that's part of the community eligibility program that's offered by the USDA. And we are a one-to-one K-12 district. So talking about growth and investing in our students and investing in our communities, we have in recent years had 2 bond issues. We passed a bond issue in 2014 and another in 2018, and we are wrapping up the last of those 2 bond issues, and we're finishing it on time and within budget. As part of that, we had 108 projects, which included 5 new schools. So we opened 2 new high schools and 2 new elementary schools last year, and we're opening the doors to our new middle school this year, which we're very excited to do. And then if you've had an opportunity to tour any of our new schools, one of the things that we really focused on was designing classrooms that are considered non-traditional. So we designed a classroom that's flexible enough to work for today's education, but we also know that education changes, and what classroom delivery looks like in 20 years will probably be different, probably should be different as education evolves. So we designed our classrooms with that in mind. So there's more flexible space, more collaborative space than your traditional classrooms that probably most of us grew up attending class in. So college and career academies and pathways. This is something that we began launching in 2021. So prior to the launch of college and career academies and pathways, there were a select group of students who were able to participate in college, career academies and pathways. Now every student gets the opportunity to participate. So every student enters high school and they participate in Freshman Academy, which is a great opportunity for them to learn skills that not only benefit them in their high school journey, but also as they enter into the workforce or as they continue on into college, really setting them up for those life skills and those education skills that will help them to be successful. In their freshman year, students start to explore their career interests, and then at the end of their freshman year, they get to pick from 108 different academies and pathways where they have their interest in, where they get to spend the next 3 years of their high school career. As part of academies and pathways, students will take some focused classes in their career interest area, but they also take their core classes, they take their advanced academics, and they continue their electives. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. They continue with their traditional high school experience, but then they're also starting to explore potential career paths. And what's been really great as we talk with students is some students have taken academies and pathways and they've said, okay, yeah, this is great. This is exactly where I want to go with my future career. And others have said, you know what, I thought I really liked this, but I learned as I went through academies and pathways, this is probably not the place for me. So they're figuring that out in high school for free before they're going to college and they're paying to take those classes. They're figuring it out earlier. So we see that as a benefit for our students. And then as we talked about the advanced academics, we offer advanced placement, honors, dual enrollment, international baccalaureate, Cambridge, and early college. And we actually offer the largest number of AP courses across the state. And if you want to learn more about academies and pathways, I put the link on there. So here's our website. We launched a brand new website in the fall of 2021. We believe that it's much more user-friendly. I don't know if anybody ever visited our old site. It was not very user-friendly. We designed this really with families in mind. So we've got a whole section that's students and families, which really, as a realtor or as a new family, that's going to be where you're going to get the majority of your information that you're going to need to start your experience with Omaha Public Schools. Under students and families, we've got a Find My School. What's really great about our Find My School is we do have choice opportunities in our district. We have some schools that are closed because of capacity, and we have other schools that are open. And part of our student assignment plan, which determines based on a student's address, the schools that they can go to based on the partner plan, and what schools that they would receive transportation to. So our Find My School also includes not only the schools they're assigned to, but the other schools that they could attend with transportation. Now, that doesn't mean that students and families can't apply to any school. They certainly can if there's space. It's just whether there's going to be transportation or not. So hopefully this tool helps them determine whether they're going to have transportation or not. And then there's our email address. It goes to our team. Again, like the others have shared, we're happy to answer any questions. We want to be that conduit and that first step to a great experience with Omaha Public Schools. I also added a QR code. So we have a partner toolkit that has great information about Omaha Public Schools and all of our offerings for families. If you're interested in getting a copy of that, fill out the QR code and I'd be happy to send you one. We also, if you're interested in being added to our email list for our parent newsletter, we'd be happy to add you to that as well. Okay, and then I think we're back to questions.
We have some. Great. We were hoping, because this is the end of the slide.
All right.
So we can repeat questions too.
I had a couple questions. The first one was when you were talking about how Elkhorn is grandfathered in, do any of the other schools offer that?
So because we've got choice at some of our buildings, it's a little different for ours. So I would always say if you've got a family who has questions, to specifically reach out to our office or to our student placement office, and we can give you very specific answers based on the family's unique situation. Because every situation's a little different. We want to make sure you have the most accurate information.
That also applies for Millard, and I know that we have been able, as your schools have a little bit more capacity, then it eases up a little. I can say Elkhorn, I've been there and lived it, is under tremendous pressure right now. And I know some of your schools, I believe, is Omaha South the largest?
Yep. Omaha South, South High is the largest high school in the state of Nebraska, so which we're proud of.
Do you know if Papillion does that?
I would say definitely call the district office. I don't want to speak that specifically for Papillion. I know with us that we try really hard. Like if a family moves and we have a closed building, but they move during the school year, we have always let them stay for the school year. It's not just like, okay, you're out that day. You know, you can stay through 5th grade or you can stay throughout. I also know that when you come to us, as we have about, I believe it's around 3,000 students that opt in. So they have never lived in Millard and they choose to come to Millard for choice programs or whatever reason. And we literally have them from all over. I mean, we've got some kids from Waverly coming in every day. So they do have to reapply at each level, but we have historically, and by level I mean elementary to middle to high. But once they're in our pipeline, we have always protected them and kept them in if they choose to stay. We work with families every way we can. I have found that everybody does, but when we run into these ginormous pressures, South has not always been the largest high school in my 10 years. So that things do go up and down dramatically. It's almost like a heartbeat.
So I had another question that was, I mean, I don't know if you guys will be able to answer, but I was curious if they are in your district and they're homeschooled, are they allowed to do sports with your schools, or do you
Sports and activities, certainly. There was actually some legislation that was just passed about this, but we have always welcomed homeschool families in. They need to take a course. So they need to be connected to our schools. When we have our sports and our activities, or as we call it, activities and athletics, we are creating a school community, and we feel very strongly that we want them in for some piece of that day. We want to bring them into our school family. And I also believe it's a law that they need, I think it's just one at this point, so they can choose and work with the school about which course they want to come to. We did, during the pandemic, offer remote. We actually had hybrid. If you want to blow a teacher's mind, that's a great way to do it. We're very thankful that our teachers stayed. We are now entirely, now, we are a one-to-one district as well, and occasionally there may be a study hour or a place where a teacher jumps on a Sunday night to help kids prep, but we are absolutely within the classroom. We are in-person learning. So if those homeschool students choose to come to us for a class, they need to come to the building. That is a rule.
The one thing that I wanted to add specifically for homeschool families is that we offer a program in Omaha Public Schools called the Omaha Virtual School. And what it is it's really focused on families who are homeschooling but want that extra additional support from teachers and from a district. And so basically what it is that the parents are helping to guide the homeschool education, but they come to a class for 2 hours, I think it's 2 hours, once a week. So that they still build that community, they have that connection, but it's still very homeschool focused, which is what the family usually is looking for.
So can somebody living in a different school district have that?
So the question was for Omaha Virtual School, if anybody can attend, and yes, again, because we're mostly an open school and our capacities are a little different for Omaha Virtual School because they do meet in a physical space, but there's not the same certified staff that's needed. We do allow students from other districts. Yep.
Now, if you're speaking of a homeschool situation, you cannot choose the district or the school that you want to go into, at least for Millard. For example, if a family is homeschooling in Elkhorn, they cannot call and say, we want on the Anderson Middle School volleyball team. That you have to be, you're going to go within your, and is that the same for you? Okay.
Yep, the same would be true for Elkhorn.
Does that help? Okay.
So it's different for OPS.
So for homeschool, but you were speaking of just the virtual school, weren't you?
For just the virtual school. If we're talking athletics and activities, then that's a little different, and it would be whatever typically is what school you're assigned. Yeah.
All right, we got one back here real quick.
I was curious, what is the ratio student to teacher in each district? That's one question. Number two, are you experiencing a shortage of teachers?
I'll go first. Ratio student to teacher is variant for Elkhorn based on elementary, middle, or high school. The Elkhorn ratio, or the elementary ratio is about 20-1. I can't answer on middle or high, but I would have to look that up. I apologize. And then, what was this? Oh, teacher shortage. Elkhorn is fully staffed for the coming school year at this time.
So for Omaha Public Schools, what was the first part of the question? I forgot now. Teacher ratio, sorry. For teacher ratio, I don't know it off the top of my head. I certainly would be happy to send it to you. It's also available on our website, or if you wanted that partner toolkit, it's in there. I just don't want to tell you inaccurate information. And then as far as staffing shortages, I think for all businesses across our community, you've seen staffing shortages. Organizations are struggling to find staffing. We are committed to every classroom having an educator before the start of school year. We're actually doing a presentation to our Board of Education next week on our our staffing numbers at the time, but we are committed to having an educator in every classroom for the start of the school year.
I should also give the caveat that fully staffed with certified staff, so classroom teachers. We are still obviously in the same boat with support staff and food services and those types of positions as well. So my apologies for.
So for Millard Public Schools, we are the same. It varies. We're about 18 to 20 for elementary, and then your middle and your high school classes are going to be dependent. Some of our IB classes I've seen as low as 4. So it really runs the gamut. Some of your PE classes can be larger. They might combine a couple of classes. And let's see, so that was class size. There was staffing, thank you. Staffing wise, I think at last check we had 3 teachers left to hire for this school year, but we have many para positions, many custodial, and many food service especially. However, we absolutely are making it work.
Oh, my question kind of went with that. For families who might have special needs children moving in, let's say they move into an area that has maybe like a high volume of people and not enough support staff, would they move them to a school that then had that support for that student, or would they try to keep them at the school that they're endowed for?
I would imagine in Millard, and I don't want to speak specifically for our, for our staff, special education staff, but I believe we keep at the school that they are going to, and I don't think that we have hit a number of staffing issues that we have hit any kind of capacity issues with that.
For us, it really depends, and it's really about collaborating with the family to make those decisions and have those conversations. Because of staffing, we might only offer a program at a particular school, so it may be of benefit for the student to attend that school. So again, it's really about collaborating with the family, and as we work through their IEP and whatever services that the student needs, it's about determining what's best for the family and for the student to provide those services. So it's really about that conversation.
I would agree on both counts for Millard, or in accordance with what Millard and Omaha Public Schools said. Elkhorn would be very similar. Working with families is first and foremost. I don't believe that we've met a point where we can't support a student at their home school.
My question on that is, I've had clients that have special needs specific, so they've asked, what school, or what school district does really well with X, Y, or Z, whatever the situation is. Do I recommend that they contact the special ed department? Or, because if they're starting their look, like if you're very school specific, does that mean they have to sit there and look in a small range if they find that is?
I keep thinking I've turned this down, and I have not. And I'm sorry, this is
It's
Papillion
Papillion, isn't
saying
it?
they're sorry they couldn't make it. So they had a conflict.
I would say absolutely the special education department is going to be that primary point of contact for them. I would say that's their specialty. That's exactly what they know and live and breathe every day. So I would be cautious in answering that with a blanket response, but I would also, say we're always willing to work with those families. So I think that a phone call or an email to that director or that whoever's in charge of that department to explain the situation and understand what the intricacies of that IEP or of what they're looking for. The only way we can help is by knowing those details. So I would say it's always going to be family specific, and just that phone call to the department is going to be the first step. Absolutely.
The only thing I would echo is that our special education team is familiar and comfortable. There's lots of families that reach out already, so they're ready and waiting and willing to answer whatever questions families might have.
And just like all of us are connected for school communications, all of our groups underneath, all the elementary principals get together, all the middle school principals, all the special education directors, and all of those people working, we all know each other. So we're going to be able to help with questions. It's not as though they're going to be unfamiliar with other districts. There's a strong community there. I would say start with special ed, or if you just need to reach them, start with these general emails, because they do come into us, and we quickly act as the post office and get you where you need to go.
All right, we got a question back here.
There was mention of a neighborhood churning a cycle. Is there a way to publicly see that or find that information, as well as maybe the capacity versus enrollment of a school?
Sure, great question, and no. The easy answer is no. We see it, so capacity and enrollment you could see. We always leave room for, and this may be a little different, by law, if you're living within our if you're living within that school zone, you're going to that school. And if we are hitting points where we need to start changing boundaries, we are going to go earlier than, oh, holy cow, that's the last kid. Okay, shove them in. We got to change. We're on it much earlier than that. Because it takes a lot to shift a boundary, and we know that it's going to be difficult. Our friends in Gretna are going through it right now. That's another exploding community. They're about to open a high school. That's going to be a huge cultural shift for that community. So capacity numbers, you can actually get to those for Millard in a student services board report. It's all on our website. We are really transparent, but nobody wants to sit through our board meetings, but it's all online. And I'm trying to think when the student services report goes, but I think if you just went to the student services section of our website, I believe last year's is posted there, and it does have capacity numbers for each of our schools. I can tell you we're not butting up against any of those numbers. Like, I don't see boundary changes in our future. Please no. I don't see any boundary changes for Millard for at least the foreseeable future. We're comfortably moving through, and we don't have any, we certainly watch the spikes, but we don't have any giant spikes that concern us at this time.
So for us, all of our information is available from our research department on our website. Again, it's publicly available. We do board presentations and share that information with our board. The one caveat I will tell you is you look at enrollment or capacity for a school. So our research team and our HR team are always looking at the numbers and making adjustments. So if we start the school year and then we get an influx of 10 kids for second grade and we decide, okay, well, we need to have another teacher, they're going to work to staff another teacher in that school and make that adjustment. So they're constantly looking at those numbers to make sure that we're providing the best support for students and families.
Agreed on all counts. Alcorn's numbers are all online as well, especially as we look for bond issues with that growth piece. That'll all be materials that's provided. There's board reports. We work with a demographer to predict out on like a 10-year cycle essentially. But again, the churning of a neighborhood we just saw very similar with Spring Ridge. It was all of our family, and then all of a sudden they were brand new, and there was lots of little baby children. So there's no predicting that cycle, but certainly capacities and current enrollments of our buildings is all online.
I might add one. While we can't predict completely, when we get a brand new neighborhood, we know brand new neighborhoods come with brand new married couples who come with first the dog and 1 year later the baby. So lots of babies, and there is a definite like 10, 15 year cycle. We have seen things shift a little over time. Mom and dad aren't selling that house quite as fast, and I thought that was kind of crazy. But in our case, we've got another 5 years, and then we'll be technically empty nesters, and we have no plans to move. I bet we stay in our house as a family. Oh, geez, we could be there another 20 years. So it's really hard to predict and know exactly. We've also seen during COVID a phenomena of people were hit stress times, and we started seeing 2 to a single household. So there was only supposed to be, it's a one household house, but suddenly we have an extended family, or we have a relative, or we have a friend that's there and they need to enroll their children. We have seen that happen. We have seen several homes that we have a strong Ukrainian population in Omaha and in Millard. Suddenly we've seen homes with 4 and 5 families, and dad's not there, he's fighting. Mom is here with all the kids. We've seen lots of interesting. Afghanistan population has boomeranged. We have about 80 languages in Millard. So it is really hard to predict. You go back a couple of years, I never would have said, oh my gosh, we suddenly have a huge influx of Ukrainian families. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, question.
2 questions. Well, one, sometimes realtors can probably see the turnover of a neighborhood before the school can.
Email us when you do. We'll take that.
We see trends sometimes too. 2 quick questions. You've both mentioned one-to-one. I don't know what that means, because to me that means one student, one
that's
teacher.
Great.
So that's one question.
Is a device. So we in Millard Public Schools, I bet, are we all one-to-one? We're not. We mean that we hand every child a device. When we went in, so we're talking, this means we can go remote. When we hit COVID, we were already iPads for elementary, and every high school student middle and high school student is issued a laptop. But suddenly we had to become one-to-one all the way down to kindergartner. Like, that's a good idea. Let's hand them an iPad. That'll come back to school. But we were suddenly, COVID, here you go, catch, here's your iPad. And I know in OPS, it was like ramp up like that. I mean, you had thousands of iPads.
So our goal, I talked about our strategic plan of action. So our strategic plan of action in January outlined that we would be a one-to-one district, I believe, by 2023. And we had some at the high school, but we had some schools that were one-to-one, but not every high school. By September or October of 2020, our entire K-12 district was one-to-one. So if we serve 52,000 students, that's a lot of iPads that we handed out very quickly.
You provide internet, don't you?
Yes, so ours also come with, they're an internet-enabled device. We know that not every home has internet available to them, and so we want to make sure that students still have access to do their homework or get support or study for a test, and so every iPad we hand out also has internet capabilities to it.
That was a really helpful question. That
Yeah,
will
so
help
just
us.
know the public that our kids have graduated. We don't always know what that means.
Thank you.
Because we put that in the rear view mirror. The second question, I know where I grew up, my friends' kids, the graduating with an associate's is much more readily available in that state where I'm originally from. Is there anyone either within district of Millard or other districts that are looking at expanding that opportunity to get your associates while you're in high school?
I think there's even more ways to go about it than early college. By the way, where are you from? Curious. Which?
Northwest Washington.
Okay, so they're ahead of us. Leave it to the coasts. But I think there are ways to, and both of you will want to talk, because even if you are at not in our early college, but you're at North or West, you can stack up those advanced placement credits, those IB credits, so that you're going in with just as much college credit as the degree, and I'll let y'all speak.
So the same would be true for us. We have different options within our district. Talked about the different academic, advanced academic offerings that we have. We do have an early college program where students graduate with an associate's degree. A lot of students, based on their career aspirations and where they want to go to school, may also work to just get the AP and the dual enrollment courses. So basically, they're getting enough credits to get an associate's, but what they've decided to do is really focus on, gen ed classes, so wherever they decide to go to college, they're focusing on that versus the associates. So it really, there's lots of different options and opportunities for students based on kind of what they want to do in their future.
The same for Elkhorn. The AP courses are the first line of defense to those credits for secondary education. We are exploring an expansion with a partnership with Metro Community College, which right there in our backyard essentially, so a really good opportunity to expand those options for students as well. At the end of the day, the thing we always talk about is we want every student to know every door that's available to them, and we want them all to be open for whatever they want to pursue. So as long as we can achieve those goals, it just looks a little differently than an associate's degree when you walk out of college, or high school, my apologies.
The one thing I wanted to add to that is I think it's really important as we talk to families, when we think about post-secondary classes, it's not just if you're going to get a bachelor's degree. We also have those opportunities for college courses in plumbing, in electrical, for those trades classes. So there's lots of different opportunities, whatever somebody's career choice looks like after high school.
And those jobs start near six figures. It's amazing, and we're trying to educate our families on that.
So I know we're at 10, so we've got 3 more questions. Go ahead.
Kind of with the trades one, Miller South Question for Miller. Question kind of about the trades. You said you guys have going into the trades programs. Do all the districts offer that? My second question is, I know that when I went through Millard and they offered AP courses, do they still continue to offer where they will, if you take the course, they will pay for the test so that students can get that credit?
So if you are free, that has been a change. I'll be straight up about that. If you are free and reduced family, we are absolutely going to work with our foundation. Our foundation was always the one that paid for those tests. We did not. They will pay for those tests. But if you are not, you need to pay for the test yourself. It was an incredible, like, $1 million price tag that the foundation was struggling to manage. So that cost has rolled back unless it's free and reduced, and we'll absolutely get you coverage on that. As for, we work with Metro and WIBW and all of these trade, or it's IBW, I think, all of these trade organizations, and they're in our backyard. They have a building at Oakview. And we absolutely are trying to get those pathways, just let kids know. Because they'll get out and kind of flounder for a couple of years, and they're like, hey, I could be an electrician. And we're like, oh, you could have started that sooner. So we're trying to make those connections.
For us, same thing. We have a career center, which really focuses on, it was the original, academy pathway thought process. So we've got a lot of different trade opportunities, not only at our high schools, but then also our career center. And then we also work with Metro. So we've got a couple of different ways that students can look at trades. And then as far as cost, it looks a little different depending on the program that students are in, but certainly we encourage families to work with their high school counselor. We never want it to be a barrier for students to not take a class. So we'll work with families as much as we can. And we've got scholarships and opportunities available to help cover some of that cost, depending on the specific program.
Elkhorn does offer some of those same trade courses. Welding was a big one that we launched when Elkhorn North opened in 2020, so we partnered with Valmont to get that lab opened up. That is one of the courses that students at any Elkhorn Public Schools high school can attend, so they just transport back and forth. So that one is open to all. And then on the fees for AP, our foundation splits that cost with families, so they pick up a portion, families pick up a portion unless it's free and reduced, in which case that would be, the bill would be paid by the foundation as well.
I missed that. What do you do?
We partnered with Valmont to create a welding lab at Elkhorn North, and that's a course that's open to all high school students, so anyone that attends South or High would be available as well.
I would just say that to that trade thing, Builders of the Future, your foundation, the Omaha Area Board of Realtors Foundation, of which you are all a member of, supports it heavily. All these schools, approximately 30 schools across the metro area, receive funding from Builders of the Future and the help from those folks that help them go and move on. My question is pretty simple, and I'm surprised nobody wanted to ask it. Our biggest question we get is, people are moving into the community. We want to be in a good school. What's a good school? We see the school ratings are all over the place depending on whatever they look at, and so on and so forth. As educators, what is your recommendation as far as where should we direct our clients to do the research to make the best decision for their children to go to the different schools?
Sure. We offer tours. Our principals would love to walk you through the schools. Same. Every principal will get you a tour. They can start on our website. The email addresses that are on the PowerPoint, they can email us, and we take these calls all day long. I know that when you go into giant metropolitan areas, it can get difficult. If you're walking into LA, New York, we are not those places. We're Nebraska. I would be comfortable putting my child in any district in Nebraska. We are a different story here.
Go ahead.
I would agree. I would say the first line of defense for families, if they want a personal contact, send us an email. The number of calls that we take, both personally from a communication standpoint for prospective families, we want that first experience. We want to talk to them. We want to hear their stories and what they're looking for and what their intricacies of their family needs are. We want to be that person. And I guess in Elkhorn, I assume you guys want to be that too. But so websites are always the first line of defense, but second to that, a personal email, phone call, whatever that is. Our principals too are doing building visits. They're doing that in the summer, during the school year, on breaks. It doesn't matter. We want to be able to welcome families to communities, whether that's, regardless of district. A good school is any school in Nebraska. I would absolutely echo Rebecca and say that you can't go wrong. There's so many good offerings. It just depends on what your family needs are.
I would add to that before I got into this job, I was in journalism in this town for multiple years. And so I have run and gunned all over town covering stories. I've been in all of our schools, and with that hat on, I am also still comfortable going to any district. So dual perspective there.
I would echo what both of these ladies said. I think any school in Nebraska is going to be a great place. Our educators care very much, and not just our educators, all staff in our schools care about kids and care about their well-being and their outcome. The one thing I will add is I know there's a lot of sites out there that rank schools, or people can provide their feedback. Taking schools out of the mix, if you look at any other site that compares organization against organization, people who had a bad experience traditionally are 100 times more likely to share that than somebody who had a good experience. So they're not always balanced. I'd also say that one of the things that we talk about is that for us, the data is not always super accurate because it's not coming from us. It's coming from another vendor to a third party, and then they're determining what data they're sharing with the public. So if somebody's looking at a school, I highly recommend they reach out to the district that they're looking at, tour a school, meet parents in that community, meet the principal. We're all very inviting and welcoming, and we'd love to have somebody in our schools. But I would just caution on third-party websites that don't necessarily have the most accurate or up-to-date information.
All right, I know we're over time, but we had one more question, and then we'll be done.
Yeah, along the same lines, I mean, from a realtor perspective, that question that Doug asked is a good one, but we can't give our opinion on anything. Our job is to direct them to information. So is there, on a state level or a county level, some resources that are out there, websites, where we can direct them to a more of a broad view of things, where they can see, oh, this school district's got these programs, this school district has these programs, as opposed to just going specifically to these districts to begin with. Start from a broader view.
Sure. I would point them to the Nebraska Department of Ed, and they have a report on there, and I'm trying to think of the name of NDE profile. But if you just go to Nebraska Department of Ed and start looking through, they have demographics on every single school. I don't believe so. And keep in mind that when you say county, like Millard, we're in Douglas and Sarpy. We like to, country and western, which makes it just lovely trying to, we all cross multiple boundaries and multiple departments that we work with for police, fire, the whole 9 yards. NDE is going to be your best resource, but you can also see in Nebraska, that's where you also see that we all float higher. I think it's org.
And I'll find it, and we'll put it on
Nebraska
the AMB agent
Department
tools.
of Education. Like, you are looking for not any off third-party site. We all work with the Nebraska Department of Education. Okay. Yes.
Perfect. And that's going to give you very high-level information. If a family is looking for a specific program, again, I know that's not necessarily what you're looking for, but their best bet's going to be able to look at individual school and district websites. Because we submit so much information, but it's kind of within the confines of what they're looking for on their profile.
The challenge is, even in Nebraska with just 2 million in the state, we're all huge, and we offer so much. I mean, I'd never heard about the welding program till today. That's super cool. If you go out western Nebraska, there's one district out there that has a sawmill. Literally, in the high school, they've set up a sawmill. So we've got a lot, but finding it, that's why we're here, so we can help you weed through.
All right, let's give them a big round of applause. We appreciate you guys coming out, especially right before school started. And then we're hoping to have more sessions like this as well, along with other districts. So thank you again.